And we're live, everyone. This is Damage Gamer, and I'll be returning to Civ 5 Vox Populi. I'm here to talk about the March 1st beta version, and for those wondering why I didn't talk about the February 18th one, it's basically they made AI better by giving them more bonuses, archers and slinger back to range 2, some combat strength changes, and city bombardment. Yeah, there just wasn't enough. Like I basically covered pretty much everything for that specific one. So yeah, there isn't much else. So what's interesting about the March one is pretty big. There's some pretty big changes. First, there's bonuses, handicaps for the AI has been more spread out. So the idea before is that for runaways, it seems like before, if they're getting ahead, they get more bonuses, which helps them snowball even further. So hopefully that will fix it. And for those of you wondering, I have advanced setups, so that's why I have so much gold. Yeah, don't worry. Hey, I'm gonna remove it. I'm actually doing my own modding, or at least learning how to mod. Not modding, at least not successfully yet. Anyways, the reason why I pick India is because pantheons have gone through some pretty big changes. Actually, one of the things I'm trying to mod is change pantheons as well. I want to go in a different direction, but we'll see how successful I get there. So first, goddess of fertility is now goddess of the home. It's actually very different if I could find it here. Am I just blind? It's highly possible. Okay, there's goddess of the home. So goddess of the home, +1 food and faith from shrines, +10 food and faith when the building is constructed, scaling with era, 25% faster growth rate. So suddenly this, like, I could see this being amazing for wide or progress, right? You get a bunch of cities, you get extra faith from shrine, a 50% increase, so you get 3 faith instead of 2. In addition to that, when you complete buildings which you are trying to do as progress, what ends up happening is you will actually get quite, like, the more cities you have, the more buildings you construct, the more faith you get. And 10 is not insignificant, especially when it's what, 900 for that first. Like, if you build 9 buildings, you're already 10% there. So this is pretty strong for wide. Is it as strong for tall? Not so much. Yeah, overall I feel like this is more for wide. Do I like to change? I don't know. It feels, I haven't tested it yet, so it's still too early for me to tell. But I don't know. So what I want to see is like less faith overall from pantheons, because right now it feels like we're in a position where when we're trying to balance, we're like, oh, you can't find with this pantheon, let's add more faith to it. And as you can imagine, it's basically a race to see how much faith we can add into it. And what ends up happening is certain faith starts falling behind, like God of the Sun. God of the Sun hasn't seen any changes for a long time, and it's only 2 faith and gold from granaries. And that 3 fruit from farms on wheat isn't that impressive, but as you can imagine, it's just falling behind. And you know, eventually we might come to the point where, like, oh, let's buff that, let's add more faith to it, which I don't like, but I guess a lot of other players don't mind. I might be in the minority. That's why I'm making a mod that, oh, people could just add it as a mod, and they could basically make up their own opinion regarding how they would like to see the Pantheon changed. God of Commerce, this is huge. Like, there's so much packed into this. So, +2 faith and golden cities with a city connection. That's no different from before. And then, capital or holy city gain +2 merchant points, which is, extra great people points. And great merchants are great for We Love the King Day. And then you get +2 gold and faith in capital per active trade routes. So, yeah, you can imagine if you grab this as Venice or some civ that really benefits with trade routes. Suddenly you have so much gold. You'll be swimming in it. And honestly, this is a buff from before. Like, it's a huge buff. Before it was only +2 faith and golden city with the city connection, and you get some faith for every 5 gold in the city, something like that. So this is a huge buff. I don't know why it needs buff. I never felt it needed buff. It was already one of the strongest, one of the most reliable ones. So yeah, it's a really weird. And then you look at its counterpart, because both encourages fairly wide. Goddess of Wisdom. What happened with God of Wisdom? So now you get +1 science, +1 faith. So you lose the golden age points. Not the end of the world. And then you have +2 great scientist points in capital or holy city. That's pretty nice. And then what? +1 faith and science in any city with a specialist. It's like, what? Specialists are expensive, especially in your secondary cities. So maybe you could benefit from that for your capital, but it's unlikely you're going to benefit from that for your other cities. And honestly, with the buff to like Goddess of the Home, suddenly this becomes weaker, much harder to find a religion. What do? Oh, I know. Let's buff it later on. Let's add more faith. Let's see how that works out, right? And next one, God of, I think it's God of Craftsmen. Yeah. So this one has been debated a lot because it's really hard to find, because it's in an awkward location, and getting everything up to have enough faith to make it work is tough. So instead now it's +1 faith and production from quarries and stoneworks. I think that's the same. +1 culture, science, and 2 faith from palace. So the idea is that when you grab the Pantheon, you will immediately benefit from it. That 2 faith is actually going to be huge, now that I think about it. It might actually make it possible to find, but maybe still not the easiest. I mean, the extra culture and science are all nice, but this is what I'm talking about, right? So suddenly you're pushing where some of these you can't find, and now they're okay, but they get buffs in other areas. I mean, before, I will admit, the extra yields for monument is pretty nice, but it has been removed. So I guess that kind of balances out. I mean, how do you tell if this is good or not, right? Because Pantheon are constantly in a state of change. And let's see, Goddess of Love is now tutelary gods. So Goddess of Love was weird. It's amazing in the hands of AI. Like, they could reliably find a religion with it. But that isn't the case when a human player has it. For human players, garbage, because you can't grow that much to benefit from it. It's a really weird thing. So tutelage gods +2 production and 1 faith in city with at least 3 citizens. Yikes. 3 citizens? Like, that might just be your capital for a good portion. And +1 production and faith from engineer specialists. The earliest you could get that is either the Forge, which is in classical, which you unlock in classical era, or if you go tradition and you work that specialist slot. And even there, I mean, you get 3 faith from sovereignty. Like, to get that specialist, you go justice, but I could see, argument where you go for that. You're not suffering as much because you're not completely losing out on the faith, so you get 1 and then you get another 3. But really, 3 citizens, and it doesn't even scale, right? It's for every city, so I don't even know how you're supposed to find a religion with that. So that's gonna need changes. I don't even know why it was changed. Like, it's not even that good long term, right? It's not even those where if you find it, it's amazing. It's not even that. And then Earth Mother, +1 faith and culture from mines and improved resources. That's the same. And +1 faith and production from monuments. This is interesting. So before you get extra faith from iron, now you don't get that. And you also don't get the scaling production anymore. Instead, you get a flat 1 faith and production from monuments and 1 faith and culture from mines. I feel you can find easier because you're definitely going to get monuments, right? You're going to go shrine and then you get monuments, and that together is going to give you 3. And mines are pretty easy to get up. It only requires 1 tech and a worker. So I could see Earth Mother doing well, but I feel like with this, like, compare Earth Mother with ancestor worship, right? Ancestor worship, every 3 citizens you get 1 faith and then 1 culture and 1 faith from councils. Monuments, 1 faith and 1 production. Mines, 1 faith and 1 culture. Suddenly ancestor worship is garbage, right? Because you buffed Earth Mother a bit too much in its other bonuses. Honestly, it shouldn't even need that many bonuses because mines are so easy to get. I'm personally not a fan of a lot of these changes. That's why I'm trying to create my own mod, but it's taking a while. Next, Reformation, Defender of the Faith. So a lot of people argue that you get a lot of culture from it more than faith of the masses, at least until like late game. So now you get 1 culture and 2 faith as opposed to 2 culture and 3 faith. I'm fine with it. I mean, usually I grab it for the defensive bonuses mostly. The culture and faith are just extra. Now, enhancers. Inquisition. Bonus from remove heresy now scales with number of purged believers, not conversion status. But that means let's see. If I understand it correctly, it means that if you capture a large city from an enemy and you use your Inquisitor to get rid of it, let's see, generate 25 gold per converted citizen when removing heresy. So it's a flat gold. It doesn't decrease. Before it decreased with era. So if you have a city with 10 citizens, you'll get 250 gold. It's not that impressive. Inquisitor costs less faith. Yeah, it could save you some faith. Your spies exert more pressure on the cities. Really? I have better things to do with spies they occupy. and +2 happiness if stationed in a forest city. That extra bit of happiness is probably. I mean, if you need that happiness, you probably have bigger problems to worry about. I'm just saying, right? There are probably bigger things to worry about. Mana can't see drop internal trade route stuff, which sucks because I actually like that bit. So now you have +2 culture and faith in all own cities following this religion. Okay, that stays the same. +1 faith in a city for every 10 gold per turn it produces, capped at half the number of followers. Really? This is so boring. I would never take this now. That seems like garbage. Like, yeah. Like, you won't produce that much gold to really notice a huge change to faith. I mean, it might help you get a couple more. I mean, honestly, I think you get. Yeah, I feel that's trash. Syncretism. Oh, this one. This one is also awkward because it's great for warmongers. It's either incredible where you capture a lot of cities and you get a lot of yields, or it's absolutely useless. So what's the change? Drop yield per birth. Okay, before you get culture per birth. Added 1 faith per 15. What? So, right. The faith, science, and production of Holy City for 2 followers of other religions hasn't changed. They just. I don't know why you even. The other is so boring. At least the previous one was somewhat useful. Yeah, this is pretty bad. I'm not happy with the changes. You could probably hear from me. And then let's see, founders drop max city caps by 5, max city max follower caps by 50. So that means for founders, when they scale, instead of 30 cities, now it's 25, and for followers, it goes from 300 to 250. I don't know if it's necessary, but yeah, that one I'm kind of neutral because I haven't really experienced. I can't really tell whether it's like huge or not. And then units, well, more like great people. Drop great artists, scientists, instant yields by about 15 to 20%. So people were talking about how with great artists you can get a ton of great artists golden age points to get golden ages. But I think part of the problem is that a lot of the time it seems like a lot because if you have fewer cities, you require less golden age points. So you can actually get like 2 golden ages with one of them. If you go wide, it's not as powerful. But yeah, this kind of sucks for certain civs like Persia, at least for the human player. And great scientists, that one, I mean, I kind of like great scientists. Like they're able to get you some text. I mean the reduction, you're definitely gonna feel it. And honestly, I feel like it's gonna slow things